I am spirit, I am light. Followed by many, I follow none. I lead none, I walk together as one. One body, one life. One now, one mind. One being, one soul. One eye, one whole. I am spirit, I am life. I am one, and I am I. You, I am, me. I am here to feed my soul. I walk alone to ensure the energies can flow. And in this life and path and journey, control. I am living, thriving, breathing chi. Living, thriving, being free. Living, thriving, feeling me. Now, when I say I'm hungry, I got nothing to lose. I've been hungry, you was just confused. Now it's clear this bruised and used dude is on cue. Set up my own table, ready to cook some gourmet food. I know, I feel the new coming through. Just gotta sit tight, make moves, and trust my process makes me new. Optimism, positivity, bright lights, high frequencies, heavenly vibrations, and spiritual libations to bind the spirit and physical, and brighten up the lives of those who seem miserable.
Greetings and good vibes, everyone. Welcome back to the Leon Block. I am your guy, John Tell, back with another webisode. Depending on where you are in the world, you might be sleeping, it might be the middle of the night, you might be just waking up and starting your day. The other day, we commemorated the anniversary of the Christiana Resistance, which took place on September 11th, 1851 in Christiana, Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, to be precise. This is footage from the previous year, last year in 2021, footage that we took. However, we were not able to attend this year's festivities. We decided we would still show material because, it's important. Christiana was a safe haven for freedom seekers. It's a little town located in the southeastern part of Lancaster County, and because it was a large farming community, people could find work where they would get paid. This is like something that actually I'm just like reading shit for y'all, not even telling y'all. Just a little tidbit about Christiana and the Resistance. It was a large farming community, and they could find work where they would get paid, and they were able to leave a house, live and have a house, raise a family, and they didn't have to worry about not having food and clothes for them. It could also be dangerous for Black people, whether they were born free or if they were freedom seekers. It didn't matter, because there were groups of men like the Gap Gang. People knew about them because they were like bandits and would steal things like horses, cows, and chickens, and then for the money. But with Black people coming through Pennsylvania looking for freedom, they became bounty hunters. These people like the Gap Gang. They started kidnapping people and would beat them and take them back to Maryland, which was still a slave state back then, and sell them. It didn't matter to them if the people were born free or were actual freedom seekers. They would beat them up and try to make cash off of stealing them. Because of the Gap Gang, a Black man in Christiana named William Parker got his own group together. He just called it his secret organization. He got a group of Black men together, and they found out that the roads the Gap Gang used to go to Maryland, when they heard that someone had been kidnapped, they would go down that road and wait just before the Maryland border and hide and wait for the Gap Gang to come through. Then they would jump out and fight them and take the kidnapped person back home. There was a huge Quaker community in Christiana, and their religion didn't believe it was right for men to own other men. So the law in their church was that they were against owning slaves. The Fugitive Slave Act said that even though a person who was a slave came to a free state, if their owner found out where they were, they could get all their legal papers together and come to that free state and get their property, quote unquote. It is also said that if a federal agent needed help, they could deputize anyone, and they had to help bring the escaped person to jail or put them in custody. If they didn't obey, they could be charged with treason, which is a federal crime. The Gap Gang had a spy named William Paget who found out that four men, freedom seekers, were in Christiana and being helped by a man named William Parker. He found out they were owned by a man named Edward Gorsuch for Baltimore County across the Mason Dixon in Maryland. He wrote him a letter and told him where to find them, and he got a group of men together that included a son and a nephew, and went to Philly and got papers from a magistrate that would let them go to Christiana and get the men. Gorsuch and his men got to William Parker's home about 4 a.m., thinking they would catch him off guard, but Parker and the rest of them had been warned about the group coming. Parker and his wife, along with her sister and her husband, and the men Gorsuch were looking for, were barricaded on the second floor of the house. Mr. Gorsuch pounded on the door and demanded his property. William Parker shouted down that there were cows, chickens, and horses in the barn, and he could take what he wanted because that was property, and that he knew that he and the people in the house were not. They argued for a while, and Mr. Gorsuch quoted a Bible verse that said slaves should obey their masters, but Mr. Parker was known as the preacher for a reason, and he shouted back that, quote, "For freedom, Christ has set us free. Stand firm and therefore do not submit again to a yoke of slavery." Same time, you can go to Zerker's Hotel in Christiana, Pennsylvania for yourself, but I'm going to jump to this. Gorsuch's family were very upset over his death and the injury of his son Dickinson, and his youngest son Tom was in boarding school, was not allowed to go on this excursion. When he heard about his father's death, he naturally was upset and talked it over with his roommate. And when they heard about the trial, 40 black freedom seekers and free people and white folks alike who fought off the Gorsuches were being tried for treason in Philadelphia. Well, when the court reached a verdict and came back not guilty, yes, y'all, 40 black men killed or helped or took part in killing a white slave owner, tried for treason, and all received a not guilty verdict. No one was charged. Thanks in part to Thaddeus Stevens, Tom and his roommate wanted revenge. The Christiana Historical Society visited the archives in Baltimore County and found that his roommate was a person named John Wilkes Booth. This resistance really truly was the first shots of the Civil War. This county was crucial to America's shaping, especially during slavery and up to the Civil War and even after. Events such as this, however, provide a story of resilience and strength, and let this inspire you that we together, standing together, can accomplish the unthinkable. Actually, my ancestor, Ezekiel Thompson, was known as the Old Indian Negro Zeke because of his heritage. He was half Negro and half Indian, and he came to Christiana around 1830 from the eastern shore of Maryland. He had a farm and he raised a family there. And he became friends with William Parker, who had created a secret society to help other freedom seekers remain free and to help stop bounty hunters from kidnapping them and taking them to the South to sell them into or back into enslavement. Zeke was one of the many who went to the Parker house after hearing William's wife sound the alarm. He was taken to Philadelphia, to the Moyamensing prison for trial. While he sat, it was said he prayed so loudly and passionately that people stopped on the street and listened until he finished. Those prayers were heard because him and 38 others from the incident were released. His three sons joined the U.S. colored troops during the Civil War to continue their father's fight for freedom. The Thompson family still lives in the area, but William Parker and his family moved up north and got settled in with the help of Frederick Douglass in Canada. So this was originally called a riot, and personally, I truly hate that word. This was a resistance. It was a planned coordination to resist people owning people and treating people badly based in their differences. Resistance to not being allowed to live free. The lesson here is it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your skin color is, religion you practice, or language you speak. What matters is how we treat one another, that we see the good in each other, and that we respect our differences. We must be willing to help one another in hard times, and most of all, stand together and united at all costs. If you want to know more about the Christiana Resistance, you can reach out on Facebook to the Christiana Historical Society. There is tons of information there, and you can actually go to the actual place in Christiana, PA. Again, this is the day after the yearly anniversary commemorating the event, which took place September 11th, 1851. I'm a little late the day after, but there's been a lot going on. Yesterday it rained, so I'm not sure how it went. I have to touch base with everyone to see how it went, and I'll provide you with footage if I can. However, stay tuned for more of Christiana information and footage next year. You know how we are. We're going to be bigger and better next year when it comes to getting footage of events such as this. So definitely stay tuned. We'll be right back, y'all. Hey, I'm back, y'all. We have a couple of news articles to share with you. One is a story that we are going to catch you back up on that you might remember like a week ago. Actually, we talked about it. But this one in particular is a verbal encounter with police at a Black Lives Matter protest led a pregnant activist to a 4-year prison sentence. Yeah, Brittany Martin, who's in the center here wearing a striped clothed dress, confronts police as demonstrators in support of George Floyd march with an escort around downtown Sumter, South Carolina, May 31st, 2020. Lawyers are pushing for a judge to reconsider the prison sentence of a South Carolina activist who was convicted for a breach of peace, aggravated over remarks she made to police during racial justice protests in 2020. Brittany Martin, a 34-year-old Black woman, is expected a baby later this year, but in the past months, she has suffered several health complications and lost weight, said Civil Dion Rosado, one of the attorneys representing her. She has had a preterm labor. She's had several events where she had to be taken on an emergency basis to the hospital. Martin was arrested in Sumter, South Carolina after taking part in June 2020 protests prompted by the police killings of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. Rosado said the verbal encounter that led to Martin's arrest was along the lines of, "I'm willing to die for the black. Are you willing to die for the blue? This is just a job for you. This is my life." Apparently, the article's from CNN. Apparently, CNN has requested documents detailing Martin's arrest. Sumter Police Department declined to comment on the case, and a police spokeswoman said that it would be inappropriate to comment as the case may be reconsidered. Martin's attorney said she was not physically violent or threatening during the encounter. Last year, Martin was indicted on charges of aggravated breach of peace, instigating a riot, and 5 counts of threatening the life of a public official, according to court records. Earlier this year, a judge found her guilty of 1 count of high and aggravated breach of peace. In May, a judge sentenced Martin to 4 years in prison. In South Carolina, breach of peace is a crime punishable by no more than $500 fine or 30 days in prison. However, aggravated breach of peace is an escalated offense, and the judge hearing the case is charged with handing down a penalty as is comfortable to the common usage and practice in the state according to the nature of the offense and not repugnant to the Constitution. So she's spending 4 years in jail and pregnant and struggling for the life of her baby because she's loud and black. It's an absolute travesty of justice, Rosado told CNN. You can check out the rest of this article via our YouTube or Facebook page in the comments. I'm going to post it right now because I'm going to go ahead and go to the other article, which has to do with a story that we've been following pretty closely. Me and Meg talked about it a bit ago, and I think it's important to jump back in and talk about it again. A black pastor sues the police who arrested him while watering his neighbor's flowers. Remember this? Remember the video? This body cam video was released by Childersburg, Alabama Police Department and provided by attorney Harry Daniels, showing Michael Jennings when he was watering his neighbor's flowers when officers showed up and placed him under arrest within moments. Michael Jennings was the black pastor arrested. And the lawsuit also names the city of Childersburg, which oversees the police department that arrested Jennings, as a defendant. Jennings, a long-time pastor at Vision of Abundant Life Church in Sylacauga, Alabama, is represented by National Civil Rights Attorney Harry Daniels and attorneys Bethany Embry Jones, Joy Travis, and Roderick Van Daniels. They hosted a news conference Saturday with the Alabama NAACP to discuss the case. Quote, "I'm here for accountability and I'm here for justice," end quote, Jennings said. The lawsuit says Jennings is suffering with emotional distress and significant PTSD type symptoms that include nightmares and flashbacks. It's understandable. I have when I was arrested. I can't imagine what he's going through. He's asking for a jury to hear the case and to determine compensatory, I always have a problem with that word, and punitive damages, as well as money to cover the cost of the lawsuit, including attorney fees. Alabama NAACP President Bernard Simulton said in a statement to NPR that there are concerns about the officers' training. These poor judgment decisions reflect poorly on the type of training the Childersburg police officers receive if they were acting in accordance with police guidelines, he added. The attorneys representing Jennings said the release of the body camera video will furthermore clear the way for legal action against the officers and more. This video makes it clear that these officers decided they were going to arrest Pastor Jennings less than 5 minutes after pulling up, and then tried to rewrite history, claiming he hadn't identified himself when that was the first thing he did, Daniels said in a statement to NPR. Wow. All over watering your neighbor's flowers. Again, this article will be in the comments for you all as well to check out. I just wanted to touch some base with y'all about a couple stories and shed some light on the Christiana Resistance. However, you can go do your own research and check it out. All right, now I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. Just wanted to again touch base with y'all. Make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm John Tell. Have a good one.
You, I am, me, then and now. I am spirit, I am life. Followed by many, I follow none. I lead none, I walk together as one. One body, one life. One now, one mind. One being, one soul. One I, one whole. I am spirit, I am life.